Flextherm, the industry leader in floor warming and heating systems, stands behind the reliability and efficiency of its green cable concrete. When you select this type of heating, you are treating yourself to the advantages of highly advanced technology, a soft, healthsome, and even warmth. Specially designed to be part of a concrete slab, this system reduces the cost of preparing concrete surfaces. You can rest assured that the green cable concrete will surpass all your expectations because Flextherm has created a true science of well-being. Surround comfort. This video explains the steps required for installing the cable. You will notice that the procedure is very simple if you follow our directions carefully. However, it is not meant to replace the installation guide included in your floor heating kit. In this step-by-step demonstration, we show how a green cable concrete is set in the concrete slab of a building under construction. First of all, prepare the surface where the reinforced concrete slab will be placed, according to local and national building codes. We recommend the use of high-density, non-compressible thermal insulation to minimize heat losses. When the steel mesh is leveled, use enough cement blocks or bricks to prevent the cables from stretching while the work proceeds. For optimal performance, the cables should be set approximately 5 centimeters or 2 inches from the intended final slab surface. Before going any further, make sure you have correctly estimated the area to be heated. Determine the limits of the surface that will be heated, the position of any future walls, partitions, and contraction joints, as well as any obstacles needing to be worked around, such as built-in furniture or any objects under which air cannot circulate freely. Use spray paint to trace the position of all these objects directly on the mesh. Since every room located over the slab has its own installation, verify all their measurements and recalculate the heating area of each one separately to be certain that these areas correspond to the cable sizes you've selected. You can now proceed as shown in this example. Draw a sketch to scale of the area to be covered on a sheet of squared paper. Using a calculator and a few basic mathematical formulas, determine the areas which are to be heated. First, multiply the length by the width of each room to calculate its total surface. In each case, subtract all the areas which will not be heated from the total area you have just calculated. To do this, multiply the length times the width of all fixed objects in order to calculate the extent of the surface they will cover. Finally, subtract the area of all the objects from a room's total area to determine the net heating area. You should always choose a cable size equivalent to the net area to be heated or a smaller one. Remember that the heating cable cannot be cut, crossed over, shortened, or modified in any way. Examine the label affixed on every cable box. Ascertain that each cable you have received is the correct size to cover the area of the room where it will be installed. You must now plan each cable's installation, allowing for every partition and object that must be worked around. This will require you to change directions a few times while laying out the cable. When designing the installation, you must respect the minimum specified distance between the cable and an obstacle. A cable cannot be placed less than ½ inch from any fixed furniture, 3 inches from any wall or partition, and 6 inches from any drain. When planning the installation, keep in mind that no single pass of cable can exceed 10 feet. If the room requires a greater length, divide it into sections. You must leave a buffer zone that will be readily accessible at the end of the process, where you can place any excess cable if necessary. Select low traffic areas, such as behind a toilet or a door. Before starting to lay out your heating cable, verify its resistance with a multimeter or ohmmeter. The resistance should match what is indicated on the identification label attached to the cable's end. You must also check the integrity of the cable's insulation with a megometer. A reading of infinity confirms that the cable is in perfect condition. It is essential to write down the results on the warranty card included in the box. This safeguards the system warranty. Having made sure that your cable is in working order, remove the warranty seal and proceed with the installation. At the end of the green cable concrete, you will notice a 10-foot length of non-heating cable or cold lead. This is used for connection to the electrical box. This flat, red, cold lead is connected to the cable's heating part by a mechanical joint. Wrap the identification label around the cold lead and then slide it into the conduit prepared for the connection. Pull on the cable until the mechanical joint is about 12 inches from the conduit's lower end. Use Flextherm adhesive tape to attach the mechanical joint to the mesh. Ensure that the mechanical joint is attached outside the conduit and in the area where concrete will be poured. Next, for convenience in unwinding the cable, insert a pipe or rod not more than an inch in diameter into the box after having punched out the section marked for that purpose. You will be able to unroll the cable easily as work proceeds by passing it through the unwinding slot. Unwind the cable and attach it in a uniform manner to the mesh with Flextherm adhesive tape. This is done by winding the tape around the cable and the mesh in a spiral pattern. Apply a slight tension to the cable and make sure that it is uniformly secured along the entire length by using one turn of tape for each square of mesh. Take care that you always observe the pre-established spacing. When the cable is attached to the mesh and the end of a run of cable has been reached, the cable must curve so it can return in the opposite direction for the next run. Work around obstacles by attaching the cable to the mesh so it follows the outline of each one. When it becomes impossible to leave enough space for a return run, change the direction of the cable. When two meshes overlap, they are tied together with fasteners. Cover all fasteners which might damage the cable. Continue installing the cable. Lay out any excess cable in the buffer zone. When the operation is completed, solidly attach the cable's other end to the mesh, again using adhesive tape. You can now install the floor temperature probe. Use a multimeter to check the probe's integrity. Connect the multimeter to the probe and measure its resistance. This should correspond to the data on the probe label. Take the protective sleeve and slide the probe's end into it. Insert the probe so that the capillary reaches the bottom end of the sleeve. Attach the sleeve to the cable conduit which already contains the cold lead. Then secure the remaining part to the mesh, making sure there is no overlap with the heating cable. Ensure that the part of the probe that will be covered with concrete is in the protective sleeve. The probe must be at least 2 feet into the heated area and exactly between two cable runs. Place it in a neutral area far from any source of heat or cold. When the installation is complete, check the cable's integrity once more. Note the test results on the warranty card and the space provided for that purpose. Repeat these steps in each room for which you are planning to install a green cable concrete. You may now pour the concrete slab. Certain precautions must be observed to prevent damage to the cables. Use only a concrete pump to pour material where it is needed. In order to avoid any harmful contact between the pour pipe and the cables, have on hand a sufficient number of protective polystyrene foam panels with plywood backing. The pipe's connecting joints will rest on these panels and will not harm the cables. When the pump is running and concrete is poured on the mesh, always keep the pipe raised so its nozzle will not touch the cables. Spread the cables with a straight-edge scraper, being careful not to snag them. Do not use a notched scraper. Also, be very careful of the cables when you move on the mesh. During the stage of concrete compaction, shake the mesh carefully so as not to damage the cables. When the curing period of your slab is over, repeat the insulation and integrity tests that were done earlier. You can then proceed to the installation of your floor covering. Ceramic tiles, natural stone, hard or flexible coverings can be used in combination with the green cable concrete. However, you should always verify with manufacturers that their flooring product is compatible with floor heating systems. Do not drive any screws or nails into the floor. The only remaining task is to connect the cables to the electrical box and to complete their connection to the thermostat, along with the temperature probe. This operation must be done according to national or local electrical standards and must be carried out by a qualified person wherever required by law. And now, savor the soft, all-encompassing warmth and enjoy this new science of well-being. Flextherm's Surround Comfort.